Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name's Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who always watches my six is my main man, Dr. Paul Thompson. How you doing today, Paul?
Well, Commander Drew, I'm doing pretty good. You look chipper, and from your background, I'm going to take a wild guess and say, are you back on the high seas?
I am back on the high seas. We're back with Virgin Voyages. I'm getting that Virgin Voyage vibe, actually. What a great ship we're on today. We're on the Brilliant Lady, and actually, we just pulled into Aruba coming from Curacao yesterday.
Well, that's great. I remember Aruba could be kind of a windy place, but it's a good place for golf. I have a cousin that goes there every once in a while just to play golf.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's a beautiful place. You should see it. It's just gorgeous. And I just got to tell you this, Dr. Paul, this ship is the cleanest ship I've ever been on. I mean, every time I walk around here, somebody is cleaning something. It is such a beautiful ship. It's a brand new ship, but it is spotless. Do you remember in AOCS when we used to have to scrub the floors with our toothbrush?
Yeah, Aviation Officer Candidate School. That was quite an experience. Yeah, I remember scrubbing with a toothbrush. Still use to this day, I still use a toothbrush on a number of things. Works very well.
Yes, it does, especially when your gunnery sergeant is yelling at you to get that spot off the floor that you can't get off. That's an incredible thing. Well, let's start the show off with the quote of the day. Curiosity is the wick in the candle of learning. That's by William Arthur Ward. Once again, curiosity is the wick in the candle of learning. And that's what it's all about, Dr. Paul, learning and getting better and getting smarter and actually living a better life. Don't you believe?
Yeah, I think so. Curiosity is good. That kind of inspired me to look into a lot of things that I would normally have thought about. They used to say, "Well, curiosity killed the cat," but I don't think that's true. That really doesn't happen if you use some sense. So, get out of your comfort zone every once in a while and check out something new.
Yeah, I think curiosity actually opens up the world because if you're curious about something, you'll look into it. So I think curiosity is a wonderful thing. The name of the show today is Lack of Knowledge is the Issue. So welcome back to the Wingman Show, where we talk about real life, real problems, and how not to lose your mind in the middle of this madness. Once again, I'm Commander Drew Brown.
Yeah, and I'm Dr. Paul Thompson. Again, we're two wingmen trying to help you fly a little bit higher, think a little bit deeper, and have a few laughs along the way.
And today, Paul, we're talking about something that frustrates all of us every day, all the time. Man, it makes me angry. People who just don't know. You ever catch yourself thinking, how can they be that way? How can they be so stupid? Well, how can they not see what I see?
Yeah, sometimes, you say things like, they should know better or it's common sense. I do that a lot. But if you've never been taught properly, how are you supposed to know what is better?
That's exactly true. See, the truth is simple and brutal, actually. If you don't know, you don't know. You're not stupid. You're not evil. You're operating off a map you've been given. And when I was a young pilot, there were things about money, relationships, even health that I had no clue about. I wasn't taught. I thought I was making good decisions. And looking back now, boy, did I make some bad choices. It felt like I was flying without instruments, but I was looking at the wrong map, Paul.
Yeah, and the same thing happens like in a classroom, also in families, online. Sometimes we look at people and judge the behavior, seeing them acting out, see that a lot, trying to get their way or acting up just to get attention with clicks and likes and whatever. And I see this in all age groups now. It's not just young people, it's everybody. I see people from different generations that really should know better, but they're operating with the same bad information and seem to have learned nothing. Then they get kind of irrational and all into their feelings just at the drop of a hat. these mature people. And we wonder ourselves, well, who taught you? Somebody latched on to some bad data that resulted in really bad programming. So maybe they need better information and, like you say, some better friends so they can get on the right frequency.
It's like we're in one cockpit listening to jazz, and they're all on another frequency listening to some heavy metal. And we keep yelling at them, turn that noise off. Listen to this. But they can't hear us because we are literally on a different frequency.
Yeah. Well, if you're flying in an airplane and you're playing a lot of music, they may look at you crazy anyway. But anyway, we get angry instead of curious and think, well, what's wrong with them? Instead of asking, what are they hearing or what are they not hearing? Here's something to think about. Someone else is probably looking at you and me the same way.
They sure are. I bet you that's true. There have to be people out there that are convinced I'm the one who doesn't get it. And that blows my mind. And from where they sit, they might be true. Their life experiences gave them a completely different set of facts, fears, and priorities. And that's one of the things that's wrong with this country. We're getting two different set of facts. So the question for us as wingmen is this: how do you deal with people who just don't know without losing your mind or losing your compassion and getting angry?
Well, we can break things down kind of like a wingman style. I think first, separate ignorance from intention. Now, ignorance means you lack information, but the intention means you really mean harm. Okay, those aren't the same things. A lot of people hurting others just don't wake up and say, "How can I be evil today?" They're just acting out of what they've seen or been taught. So when you treat ignorance like evil, you may be shutting the door on any chance of growth.
Yeah, and how can you get mad at somebody who doesn't speak English if they were born in France and never learned it? And the second thing, remember when you didn't know, Paul? Think of something you understand now, like finances, health, emotional control, whatever. Where the old you was clueless, you paid late fees, stayed in bad relationship, ignored warning signs. You weren't dumb, you were just uninformed. And at some point, somebody showed you a better way, or you crashed so hard that you had to go and learn yourself. That memory should give you some humility. If you needed time and grace, guess what? So do they.
You know, another thing is to try to help people. Speak to their gap in understanding, not just the behavior in the moment. So instead of just reacting to what they just did, or ask them, what's missing in their understanding. Do they know the consequences? Do they know another option even exists? Do they know anyone that lives differently? If all you do is punish the behavior, they walk away scared or angry, usually angry. And if you address the knowledge gap and fill it in, maybe they can walk away with a chance to grow up a little bit.
Yeah, well, you got to accept that people have different information diets. If you listen to two different news channels, you're going to get two different opinions. Some people live on a diet of gossip, fear, and outrage, I'm sorry to say. But others live on education, books, mentors, and reflection. And you cannot expect someone who has been fed junk for 20 years to suddenly operate with the wisdom of somebody who's been training their mind on purpose. You can invite them to a better table, but you can't be shocked when they're not there yet.
Yeah. And the big thing to decide is, are you trying to win the argument or win over the person? If you just want to win the argument, you can humiliate them, you can dunk on them for all the basketball junkies out there. You can try to prove your point. You can post a meme online. You can try to feel superior and walk away. But if you want to win over the person, maybe you need to slow down. Ask questions. Listen to them first. You can tell stories instead of throwing stones at them, for example. You can share what you've learned without treating them like you're looking down on them. So winning an argument may feed your ego, but winning a person over kind of builds a bridge to understanding. Don't you think?
100%, Dr. P. And look, this doesn't mean you never set boundaries. There are times you have to say, I can't let this into my life, or I'm not going to argue with you. Being a wingman doesn't mean being a doormat. It's like in politics to be honest with you, I won't discuss politics at this point in our history. But even when you step back, you can't still think if they knew what I knew and had lived what I've lived, they might act very differently. That thought alone keeps your heart from hardening.
You know, and if you want to go a little deeper, sometimes we're blind in some areas. There's stuff you probably don't even see about yourself, and there's a truth you may not be ready to accept yet. And maybe there's knowledge you haven't encountered. We don't know everything. So when you see someone else crashing around you in their blind spot, it should be a reminder. You've got your own thing, but maybe you need to be patient to help someone else, down a positive path.
All right, so what's the wingman way to handle who just don't know? You recognize the gap, you remember your own journey, you respond with clarity instead of contempt. And when you can, you offer knowledge instead of just judgment. Stop being so judgmental. Some won't take it, some will fight you, some will even stay on their frequency. But just a few will hear something different, think about it, and slowly change. And that's worth it.
Or somebody may finally wake up, someone you've been working with, or may see a new angle. Maybe they learn something that saves their marriage or their money, saves their mind. That's a win. That's what a wingman does.
All right, so next time you catch yourself saying, the hell is wrong with these people? Try switching it to, what might they not know yet? Doesn't mean you excuse everything, it means you understand the battlefield. Lack of knowledge is the issue most of the time. And if you've been blessed with more understanding, you're not just a spectator. You're actually kind of responsible, don't you think, Paul?
Yeah. So that's, today's mental gouge. And that's, gouge the stuff you need to know. Don't just get mad in the dark. You know, be the one turning on the lights. Light up someone else's light. Give them some good information.
Yeah, and remember, if you're out there dealing with folks who just don't know what you never fly alone.
Yeah. We're your wingman. Let us be your wingman.
And we'll be right here next time helping you see a little clearer and fly a little higher. All right, Dr. Paul, here's the good news. You know, we like telling good news on this show because so many people are telling bad news. Well, not here on The Wingman Show. Paul, can you believe that Yale now offers free tuition to families with incomes under $200,000? You know, this move enters Yale into an arms race of elite institutions offering increasingly attractive financial aid packages to students from low and middle income families.
Yeah. And Commander Drew's, at Yale, the full price to attend for a year is more than $90,000. So Yale is now joining other elite schools offering more generous financial aid. It includes Penn, University of Pennsylvania, Harvard, and MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
That's a $500,000 for a good education. That's crazy. But this is the good thing. Economic diversity can bring about racial diversity, which I don't like the word racial because I believe there's only one race, which is the human race. So after the Supreme Court struck down the use of race, and institutions like Yale had to find different ways to get racial diversity. All right, Paul, here's some other good news. What if I told you that French lawmakers approved a bill now banning social media for children under 15? And we just did that last week for another country. French lawmakers approve a bill banning social media for children under 15 now, as the idea of setting a minimum age for the use of platforms gains momentum across Europe.
Yeah, that bill, I saw that bill, and it also bans the use of mobile phones in high schools. So, French President Emmanuel Macron has requested that the legislation be fast tracked so it'll go to their Senate in the coming weeks.
And you know, President Macron also said, quoting, banning social media for those under 15, this is what scientists recommend. And this is what the French people are overwhelmingly calling for because our children's brains are not for sale, neither to American platforms nor to Chinese networks, because their dreams must not be dictated by algorithms. He said this right after they had the vote, Paul. What a great thing. I think social media for children is not good at all. All right, the last one, Paul. This is a great good news story. An anonymous $15,000 donation pulled 450 students out of school lunch debt. That's truly a blessing. Now, this is not millions and billions like some people can give, but somebody actually came up with $15,432. And it was for the Winfield Unified School District in Kansas, which fully eliminated all the outstanding debt for unpaid school lunches.
Yeah, and I saw this news came as a surprise during a school board meeting. The school superintendent Tricia Reiser said his generous gift directly supports our families, and ensures that students can focus on learning without the burden of meal debt. Never heard that term, meal debt.
Me neither, but I bet you a lot of kids feel so much better. Actually, a lot of families feel so much better for that. And, they say, and it's true, the more you give, the more you receive. All right, everybody. Thank you once again for watching and listening to the Wingman Show. We truly appreciate all of your support. Now, if you look behind us, you can see some badass jets behind me, and I did that with AI. I have a couple of A6s. They're fake. They kind of look like A6s and A7s, and they're flying around this beautiful ship that I'm on called the Brilliant Lady. I love being on Virgin Voyage, I'll tell you that. But look behind Dr. Paul. Now, that might look like an A7 to some people, but it's not. It's an older F8. Tell me about your F8, Paul.
Yeah, as people know, that was premier fighter for the Navy for a while, not a super long time, in the 50s. And by the 80s, they stopped using them for anything other than taking pictures. But it was a fast airplane. I remember the astronaut John Glenn set I guess, speed record going from coast to coast in an F-8 from California to somewhere in New York City in the early 50s. He used to be a test pilot.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, once again, everybody, thank you for listening to us on Apple Podcasts. Thank you for watching us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And thank you for your letters. We truly appreciate it. And for everybody out there, we have a newsletter, and that newsletter comes on our website. And that website is wingmenshow.com. That's WINGMEN show.com. And on our website, we have the newsletter that's going to say this week, live on purpose, not on autopilot. I like that one. And once again, with the wingmanshow.com, we have a great thing called a frequent flow line. And that's where you guys out there can ask Dr. Paul, myself, and even Ace any question you want. Now, I'm going to bring Ace on board, but I need to let you know that Ace is not human and he's not 100% right. He's AI, and he's something that we are trying to bring to the people because if you know how to use AI, your life becomes so much better. Don't you agree, Paul?
Yeah, yeah. AI is, you use it as a tool. It's not something to be worshipped, but it can be a great time saver. And if you know how to ask the right questions, that's called a prompt. Ask a good data. Ask it for good information. It can give you some very good information back. Can give you bad information, but it gives you a jump on people who are not using it all.
I'll tell you, we are really pushing this AI because it is really great to have that much information at your fingertips. So I'm going to read the frequent flow line, and I am going to read it to Dr. Paul, myself, and to our friend Ace, who is our AI wingman. And the letter states, Dear Wingman Show, this is a 45-year-old lady writing in from Akron, Ohio. And I need some help from Commander Drew, Dr. Paul, and Ace. I absolutely love cruising. I went on a cruise recently and had such a wonderful time relaxing, eating great food, and meeting people that now I can't stop thinking about being back at sea. But the only thing that would make it perfect is sharing that experience with my husband. But here's the challenge. My husband is not a cruiser at all. He likes his routine at home. He says he's not sure he'd enjoy being stuck on a ship. I don't want to nag him or turn this into an argument, but I really dream of the two of us getting away together, unplugging, and just being a couple again without all the distractions and responsibilities. Now, since Commander Drew cruises all the time, especially on Virgin Voyages, I'm hoping you guys can give me some ideas and a little strategy how I can present this to my husband so it feels exciting instead of stressful. Should I focus on the food? Should I focus on the shows, the adult only atmosphere on Virgin Voyage because there were no children there? Or the chance for us to reconnect. Would it help to start with a shorter cruise, maybe? Show him some videos of the ship, or maybe plan excursions around things like he really likes sports, comedy, live music, or just some quiet time. I'm willing to compromise on destinations, cabin type, and even time of the year if that makes him more comfortable. I just don't want to give up on the idea of us experiencing this together. What are some concrete steps I can take? And what should I say or not say to give this best chance of happening? Thank you for keeping it slow and helping a hopeful cruiser's wife convince her land loving husband to come sail away. What do you think about that, Ace?
I'd start by asking him what he imagines a cruise to be. Sometimes folks have the wrong picture. Then highlight what matches his comfort zone. If he loves good food, talk about that. If he's into music, comedy, or just peace and quiet, lean into that. A shorter cruise is a great idea. It feels less like a big leap. Show him some cool clips, not to oversell, just to pique curiosity, and most importantly, don't push too hard. Just paint it as a new experience you'd like to share. No pressure, just possibilities. Ace thinks he might just bite once he sees how much you'll both gain.
Wow, that's great information there. Hey, Dr. Paul, what do you think?
Yes, as she said earlier, she said her husband likes to, I guess, stick to his rhythm at home. He doesn't want to be stuck on his ship. Sounds like he's kind of stuck at home. So maybe you could, persuade him to go on a short cruise. They're not all like long cruises. I mean, they're not in the Navy. You tell him, no, he's not going to go out for like 9.5 months and, put his life at risk.
Bring him on Virgin Voyages because this is a cruise line that I think that if he goes on first, he's going to spoil all your other cruise lines. But this is the best cruise line we have ever been. My wife and I, we always go on Virgin Voyages just because of the vibe and the people here and the diversity. We really like it. I think it's very important to pick the right cruise line. And if it was me, Virgin Voyages is the only option I would have. All right, everybody, we're now ready for our Wingman PSA from the 11 Facts in Life. Under fact number 3, make a negative a positive and learn from the past. Make a negative a positive and learn from the past. And that's kind of what I did. When I first got in the Navy, I was the only black student pilot in AOCS. And all these guys came up to me and they said, "Hey, you think you're tall, dark, and handsome? Well, guess what? You're not Clark Gable. You're Dark Gable." Ha 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 ha. They started laughing. And as soon as I heard Dark Gable, I said, "That's the coolest damn name I've ever heard in my life. That's going to be my call sign." And all of a sudden, you could see their faces go, "Well, wait a minute. Maybe it's too many syllables." Nope. I took a negative and I made it into a positive. And I will always learn from the past. What do you think?
Yes, make a negative into a positive. Do something to your benefit and don't let the naysayers keep you down.
All right, here I am with Ace, and we're gonna now do the section of our show called the gouge. And what is the gouge? Well, we learned that in the Navy. It's kind of shit you need to know, but sometimes nobody tells you. All right, Ace, I want you to give me the gouge on this. I want you to hear this. Nobody ever tells you this, but your life is mostly shaped by stuff you do on default, not by the big decisions you remember. The gouge for this week: fix one tiny default. Pick one small thing you do almost without thinking about. Check your phone first, staying up too late, saying yes to everything, and change it on purpose for the next 7 days. Tiny changes feel like nothing in the moment, but I promise you they stack up and quietly change your health, your money, even your relationships, and definitely your peace of mind over time. Don't try to overhaul your whole life in a moment. Just grab one little habit, fly it manually for a week, and watch how different your days feel. What do you think, Ace?
That's solid gouge, Commander. You're right. Those automatic habits are running the show more than we realize. Picking one tiny default and flipping it on purpose for a week is a low risk but powerful move. And when you stack enough of those tiny tweaks, they start flying in formation, changing the whole course. So I say, ace idea. Let's see what flips after a week in the pilot seat.
I love that. What do you think, Dr. P?
Yeah, that's good advice. One little habit, maybe change it for a week and see what happens. And maybe if you want to really do it, keep a log, keep a written log. I started to do that. I'm good for about 2 or 3 days, but just keep a log and note your progress. Note
Mm,
if you like it or you don't like it. Could be just a few words and review it.
Great advice, Dr. Paul. All right, now we're ready for our wingman story. And that's why we named our show The Wingman Show, because we really want to uplift people who are helping others. And that's what a wingman does, somebody who watches your six. So I'm going to give you the wingman story today. Today's wingman story is about a young man named Kevin and a group of friends who refused to let him be left behind. Kevin was born with a neuromuscular condition and uses a wheelchair every day. But to his friend, he's not the guy in the chair. He's the funny, creative buddy that they've always known. One night, they were talking about travel, about adventure. They started dreaming about exploring Europe together: cobblestone streets, old churches, castles on hill, hiking trails, all of it. The ideas were flowing. Everybody was excited. And then the question hit the room: how is Kevin supposed to do all that in a wheelchair? For most people, that's where the conversation stops. Not for these friends. That's exactly where the mission started. They decided that instead of shrinking that dream down to match the wheelchair, they would find a way to lift Kevin up to match the dream. So, what they did is they designed a special backpack carrier that could hold him safely on someone's back. They tried different straps, different frames, and practiced walking stairs and hills with Kevin in that carrier. No one said this is too much work. They just kept asking, what has to happen for our friend to come with us? Finally, the day came. The group landed in Europe, rolled Kevin's wheelchair up to the airport gate, and stopped. And instead of pushing him out into the terminal, they did something radical. They left the wheelchair behind. Kevin climbed onto his friend's back, got buckled into that custom carrier, and together they walked out into a world that was never built for someone in a wheelchair. Picture them on those narrow European streets, cobblestones, stairs, little alleyways. Most wheelchairs would get stuck in the first block, but not Kevin. He's riding high on his friend's back, eye level with everyone else, laughing and talking as they move through the city. Whenever one friend got tired, another stepped up, slipped on the straps, and kept going. It wasn't a burden, it was a relay of love and loyalty. They didn't stop at the city streets. They hiked real trails, dirt paths, rocks, switchbacks, places where a wheelchair doesn't even stand a chance. Now, people along the way would stop and stare, not because of the disability, though, but because of the friendship that they were watching in real time. And when they reach those overlooks, the kind of places where you see the sunset over a valley or a city skyline, Kevin wasn't waiting at the bottom for pictures. He was right there at the edge with his friends, watching the same view, breathing the same air, and sharing the same moment. When the trip was over, they could have packed that carrier away and said, "What a great memory," and moved on. But something had changed. They realized there were thousands of people like Kevin, people with big dreams blocked by stairs, distance, and logistics. So they started something called We Carry Kevin. They began sharing their story, helping families get custom carriers, and planning trips so others could experience the same kind of impossible looking adventures. And now, because of that one act of friendship, people with disabilities around the world have been carried up mountains, down trails, and into places that were once completely off limits. And every time there's a new wingman, a parent, a sibling, a friend standing there with straps on their shoulders saying, "Climb on, I've got you." It's not just about being strong enough to carry somebody's weight. It's about loving them enough to carry their dream. So here's the wingman lesson. A true wingman doesn't just tell you about the view from the top. A true wingman finds a way to get you up there. A wingman says, "You are not sitting this one out. If I have to carry you, we're all going together." Somebody in your life right now feels left behind by health, by money, by fear, by circumstance. The question is, are you willing to be the one who straps on the weight and says, "Come on, I'll carry you"? Because in the end, the world won't just remember where you walked, it'll remember who you chose to carry along the way. I think that is a wonderful wingman story. And anybody you can help, you remember whatever you do in life comes back to you, especially the good. So, anybody out there who can hear my voice, whatever you think is important, whatever you think is beautiful, and most importantly, whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Commander Drew. I hope the rest of your voyage goes great as it has so far. We appreciate all those who listen, like, and share our message. Share this with somebody you know. Maybe it'll brighten their day. We'd appreciate it if you become a subscriber. It helps the algorithm. And if you're looking at us or listening to us on Apple Podcasts, we'd also appreciate a review. Thank you very much, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.